Welcome back in, everybody. Ben Smith from Guidance Point Advisors joins us to talk about some welcome news that we've been hearing about over the last week or two. The Federal Reserve saying they're going to cut interest rates come September. How does that play out? What does that mean for us?
Yeah, so come September, the Fed is looking at the economy and thinking that the economy might be slowing down, right? So they're looking to cut interest rates so to make borrowing cheaper so that we can stimulate the economy again. So that's looking to start in September. They're projecting about doing this over 2 years, that it might be going from about 5% all the way down to 3% in 2 years' time.
And all we've been hearing for months and months now is interest rates going up, inflation. So this really is a welcome reversal, even though you talk about it in the context of the economy slowing down. So just sort of clarify that relationship.
Yeah. So I think the Fed's trying to slow the economy down without kind of getting it to a recession, right? So I think that's why they had rates high. Now we're trying to maybe stimulate it again before it gets to that point where things are bad.
Okay. So how should consumers expect to be impacted by those lowering rates? Because, you know, the borrowing rates are going to go down. What does that mean for us?
Right. So I think a few things where if I am borrowing money right now and, you know, obviously those that are looking for their houses and mortgages, that maybe you might see those rates come down, right? And I think that's something where if you just bought a house, you might be refinancing in a little bit in a year or two. So kind of looking at closing costs might be a thing there. But that's really from the borrowing side. Saving side, if we were in money markets that are paying high yields that were tied to that Fed rate, we might want to start thinking about locking in those rates with CDs. Try locking in for a year, 2 years, 3 years, or even 5 years if you can.
Okay. All right, so there's a couple moving parts there.
Right.
Now, for those of us with student loans, and that's lots of us, myself included, what does it mean for us? Could we see our payments drop a little bit? Because mine have certainly gone up in the last couple of years because of those rising interest rates.
Right, and you know, sometimes student loans are fixed and sometimes they're floating, right? And the floating rate are going to be tied to what the Fed is doing. So we would then welcome maybe some lowering of interest rate with those student loans that have floating rates.
So you touched on it a little bit, but let's dig in a little bit. So as those rates start to come down, what should folks be thinking about in terms of making financial moves that will benefit them because of these lowering rates?
Yeah, so I think this is a really good time right now to go think about buying CDs, right? So if I can get a 4% CD, we see a lot with local banks, but online banks too. Hey, can I go take that reserve savings in a money market that was floating, that might be going down, can I go take that and extend that for 2 years? Because by the way, if I break a CD, there's a prepayment of interest, I still get my money back. So who cares if I have to break a CD, right? So that's something to keep in mind is, even though you're lengthening, is still money, it's still under FDIC, we can still get our money back if we need to break it.
Is this a good time to check in with your wealth manager or your financial advisor as the Fed makes this change, you know, to maybe sort of check in and say, hey, what should I be doing there? It's probably a good time to have that conversation.
Yeah, because I think from a debt and saving side is how should I be positioning and when do I need money and what is it for? So I think if you can align those two things, you can always do better by just making this a checkpoint, because this is where things are going to start changing.
All right, well, good to know. Thank you for giving us the heads up, some important information there. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, Beth.
All right, folks, stay with us. Your extended forecast is coming up.